There was a new mother dining in at a local restaurant, and all eyes were on her, not because she was pretty or famous, or because she had something on her face. The diners were staring at the mother for the mere fact that she was feeding her baby in the middle of the restaurant. There is a negative response most mothers get when they decide to breastfeed in public. No matter what age you are, all humans have to eat to survive. Whether this is a cheeseburger, a bowl of mashed bananas, a bottle of formula, or milk from the breast of a woman. Breastfeeding is a natural process between mother and baby, and it shouldn't matter where this process takes place. People are disgusted and put off by women who breastfeed in public, and this needs to change, and it needs to happen now. The purpose of this speech is not only to inform people of the benefits of breastfeeding, but also to persuade people that it is acceptable for women to breastfeed in public. There was a time in history where breastfeeding was the only way to feed a baby. If a new mother could not breastfeed her newborn child, there was a wet nurse to take that job over. Although formula was invented a long time ago, it is still recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics that exclusive breastfeeding for about 6 months, followed by continued breastfeeding as complementary foods are introduced with continuation of breastfeeding for 1 year or longer, as mutually desired by mother and infant. So since breastfeeding is recommended for babies for at least 6 months of life, a mother should be able to go and do anything, anytime, any place. According to the World Health Organization and the United Nations Children's Fund, they recommend that women breastfeed a baby until it is 2 for better development of the baby. Does this mean a woman can't leave her home for the first 2 years of a child's life? The answer to that question is no. I firmly believe breastfeeding is the most important thing a woman can do for a child, for herself, and although I didn't breastfeed for the recommended 2 years, I did exclusively breastfeed both of my children for over a year. Once they were old enough to eat solid foods, I introduced it but continued to breastfeed. Breast milk is best for your baby, and the benefits of breastfeeding extend well beyond basic nutrition. In addition to containing all of the vitamins and nutrients your baby needs for the first 6 months of life, breast milk is packed with disease-fighting substances that protect your baby from illnesses. There have been occurrences where someone went up to a breastfeeding mother and told her she had to cover up, leave the public place where she was at. Women who breastfeed in public are often ridiculed for providing a balanced diet for a helpless baby. We see it in the news often about breastfeeding mothers being shamed, asked to cover up, or asked to leave public places because they are feeding their child. There was an instance in Washington, D.C. just last year where a police officer said, "Ew," and told a nursing mother to take that in the corner or bathroom. This is unacceptable behavior, and nursing mothers should not have to deal with this kind of shame. Because public breastfeeding and shaming are a huge problem, laws in 49 out of the 50 states have been implemented to protect women who breastfeed in public. In Washington state where I live, state law protects anyone who breastfeeds in public places against discrimination. You have the right to breastfeed your child any place of public resort, assemblage, or amusement. This means you should not be discriminated while breastfeeding in a restaurant, store, park, shopping mall, library, or other public places. Washington state also says exposing your breast to breastfeed is not indecent exposure. You should not be asked to stop breastfeeding, to cover yourself up, to move, or to leave. I remember with my first son, I was so scared of all of the looks from random strangers just for feeding my baby in public. I would grab all of my baby's stuff, my baby, and go into the bathroom stall to breastfeed. When I did this, I was not comfortable, so my baby was not comfortable, and he didn't feed well. After I had my second child, I promised that I would not let people that I don't know change what I needed to do for my baby and his feeding needs. Would you eat your meal in a bathroom? I'm guessing most people would say, no, that's gross. Why would I do that? When a breastfeeding mother has to take her infant child to the bathroom in order to feed him or her, why is it any less gross? Why is it socially acceptable for a mother in a third world country to breastfeed anywhere, but here in the United States, a woman needs to cover up or go somewhere else to feed? Despite the medical facts and laws about breastfeeding in public, people are still against it. Breasts. Women have them and use them. In females, breasts serve as a mammary gland, which produces and secretes milk to feed infants. The biggest reason people are against breastfeeding in public is because they see breasts as a sexual nature. This is a true statement. Breasts have been made into a sex symbol by society over the years, but that is not what they were intended to be used for since the beginning of human existence. Breasts are for babies, and they are medically necessary to have in order to breastfeed. They are also sexual in nature, but does that mean women shouldn't have to put them away just because you think of them for only a sex? A foot or a hand could be considered a sexual nature depending on who you talk to. Does that mean everyone should keep them covered up while they're in public? The answer is no. It is part of life and should be accepted, just like breastfeeding in public is a part of life and should be accepted. Don't punish a baby for society's sake. The one thing that I want you to understand is breastfeeding is an acceptable form of food for a baby and shouldn't be limited to behind closed doors. Accepting is the first step in making the world a more comfortable place for breastfeeding mothers. I challenge you to look more into breastfeeding and how important it is for mother and baby. Educating yourself in a subject that you are uncomfortable with is always the best option. Breastfeeding is a natural part of life and should be accepted by everyone, everywhere.